what Fry is talking about, in my opinion, is literalism, a literal interpretation of doctrine. In this case, because it's an Irish Catholic interviewer, Gabe Byrne, he's talking about a literal translation of the Gospels. And other than like mentioning some phenomena in nature, like burrowing insects and that, talking entirely about human behaviour and human value systems. Now, Joseph Campbell, the cultural mythologist, said all religions are true in that the metaphor is true. So what Campbell's saying there is that religion is an attempt to explain the unknowable, in the same way that science is an attempt to explain the unknowable. Science can explain the mechanics of the universe and can explain the mechanics of biology and anatomy, but can it ever explain the why? The answer is no, it can never explain why this is happening. What we all want to know is there a reason for us being here? And what is the nature of the universe? What is the nature of our consciousness? This is an interesting book called Biocentrism by someone called Robert Lanza. Here he tackles the idea of creation and addresses the flaws, in the same way that Stephen Fry is addressing the flaws in Christian doctrine. Robert Lanza here addresses the flaws in received physics. In the last few decades, there's been considerable discussion of a basic paradox in the construction of the universe as we know it. For example, if the Big Bang had been 1 part in a million more powerful, it would have rushed out too fast for the galaxies and life to develop. If the strong nuclear force were decreased to 2%, atomic nuclei wouldn't hold together, and plain vanilla hydrogen would be the only kind of atom in the universe. If the gravitational force were decreased by just a hair, stars, including the sun, would not ignite. These are 3 of more than 200 physical parameters within the solar system and universe, so exact that it strains credulity to propose that they are random, even if that's exactly what standard contemporary physics baldly suggests. Terence McKenna, a kind of wacky shaman fella, said that the perspective of contemporary science is give us one free miracle and we'll explain the rest. That free miracle being that the universe sprang into being with these exact rules that are required for life and consciousness to exist. I suppose what Christianity and Islam and Judaism and Hinduism and Jainism and Buddhism are trying to do is make sense of our position, our perspective as awake, conscious, sentient beings within the infinite. For me, as a person who believes in God, my understanding of God is this, that my consciousness emanates from a perspective and it passes through endless filters, the filters of the senses, the subjective filters of the senses and of my own biography. This is good, this is bad, this is wrong, I want that, I don't want that. But behind all of that, there is an awakeness, an awareness that sees it all. And it's in you too, and it's in Stephen Fry, and it's in the man that was interviewing him. It's in all of us, an awakeness, an interconnectivity. None of us can ever know if there is a God, but we do know there is an us. None of us can ever know if there's wrong or right, but we do know there is an us. For me, Fry's conclusion that we should abandon God to be free, I believe the opposite, that we should embrace God to be free. Not embrace dogma, not embrace doctrine, but look, because within religion, even the most conventional religions, there's so many beautiful things. In fact, the thing Stephen Fry said there about that he who is without sin cast the first stone comes from a story in which Mary Magdalene, a prostitute, was being condemned, and Christ said, well, hold on a second, before we all start getting leery about Mary Magdalene, you lot are all perfect, are you? And now Fry says, how would you apply that principle judiciously in contemporary justice? Well, I would say that when you are condemning murderers or paedophiles, to acknowledge within us all is the capacity for evil. That as Solzhenitsyn, the Russian writer, said, the line between good and evil runs not between nations, religions, continents or creeds, but through every human heart. So when you are judging a paedophile, when you are judging the worst kind of criminals imaginable, to acknowledge that the thing in them that has manifest this negativity is also within us, and that our first duty is to negotiate with the negativity within ourselves, and that if we can successfully negotiate with that, then we can create a better society. Jill Bolte Taylor, the neurologist that had a brain hemorrhage in the left side of her brain, experienced consciousness in a different way. When the conscious, nagging, left-sided mind that sees everything in materialistic and macho, rationalistic terms abated, limitless energy became available to her. She noticed that, in fact, her consciousness was a system of filtration, and when the left brain was quieted, she felt herself as part of a complete consciousness. Now, no one can argue that, you know, when a lion eats a gazelle, it can't be very nice for the gazelle, but what you can argue is that in infinite space, that doesn't matter. Then the tiny fragment of reality that we experience through our materialistic senses, our eyes that only see a limited range of light, our ears that only hear a limited range of vibration, the things that we experience here, we can't make any absolute conclusions from them. No one knows if there is a God or if there isn't a God. No one knows which interpretation is closest. We know that religion has long been used and continues to be used to justify the objectives of man, whether that's crazy terrorists in Paris or a great big Catholic church that was born of an alliance between an emperor and some radical rebel group. When Constantine converted to Christianity, that's about materialism, that's about intellectual colonialism, and the thing that Fry condemns, I also condemn, because that is materialistic, humanistic dogma. That's not spirituality, that's not mysticism, that's not the acceptance that we are temporary, that our consciousness is connected to all consciousness. It doesn't matter where you come from, whether it's Freudian analysis or Darwinianism or the analysis of the cosmos. From the quantum to the cosmic, there is an unknown force behind things. You can't judge all religion on the most stupid bits. That's like judging all football on the most stupid bits. I don't like football. Why is that? Well, when Eric Cantona kicked that bloke. Yes, there is suffering, and what can we do about suffering? We can help one another, and we can love one another. Now, if you can do that through atheism, then do it through atheism. But a lot of people need to know that this is temporary, that we are the temporary manifestation of something greater, something complete and whole, something timeless and spaceless and absolute. And every dogma in the world has been trying to tackle and understand that. Art has been trying to represent it. Science has been trying to explain it. And no one can. We are up against the parameters. And I believe that without embracing something spiritual, something whole, something beyond human thought, we have no chance of saving ourselves and saving the planet. We are all connected to consciousness. We are all connected to one another. And to me, that sounds a little bit like God. That is some true news. Or is it true? What is the nature of truth? Is there any true news? Maybe this isn't even true news. Oh no. But do subscribe here.